Pro wrestling talk from the four corners of parts unknown. This is That Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to That Wrestling Podcast. It's Kevin's 10-year wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, buddy.
Yay. I've been annoying my wife legally for 10 years.
Woo, woo. Now, 10 years ago, Kevin and I were not really friends, so I was not part of the wedding festivities. Brian and Joe were, and if you go back to, when was that autograph signing, Brian?
It was like August, I'd say.
If you go back to August on our YouTube channel, you can see the video of Brian showing a picture of Brian, Joe, and Kevin wearing the woo headbands to Mark Cardona at an autograph signing. So 10 years. I'm sure there's some people listening, Kevin, that need some advice for their marriage. Any tips for you, for anybody listening or us?
Yeah, I would say drink a lot of beer, and that's about it. Just drink a lot of beer and
have a wrestling podcast.
And have a wrestling podcast.
Speaking of that
I could
photo,
have taken that advice if I was single.
Speaking of that photo, I am going to make a T-shirt out of it. I'm going to find an iron-on or a cricket somehow and wear it to GCW come January.
That's a good idea.
I will take one of those T-shirts in a 2X. So but it was also, since we've talked last, Thanksgiving happened. But more importantly, how was everybody's Black Friday? Who bought wrestling T-shirts? Come on, who bought them?
Oh,
Brian,
yes.
Really? You
Shocker.
did?
I've got two on the way. I got two on the way. They're not here just yet. But,
okay.
Stay tuned for upcoming episodes of that
Wow.
wrestling podcast.
I did not think when I wrote that down, I'm like, no way Brian bought it.
Yeah,
wow.
I was due.
He got a new Macho Man shirt and a Mr. Perfect.
Not going to reveal it. You'll see it.
No, don't reveal.
Weeks.
Wait till we get there. Joe, Kevin, anything fun from Black Friday?
I didn't buy any wrestling T-shirts, just couple video games and headphones, things like just tech stuff. Nothing, no clothing.
Kevin?
Yeah, I bought a 77-inch OLED LG C1.
Oh my.
Nice.
Yeah. It only took me okay. I do have a piece of wedding advice. If you want what you want, just ask too many times where your spouse will say, shut up and get it so I don't have to hear you anymore.
Wow. We should get your wife on here to find out if that's true. I didn't really buy anything crazy. For me, Black Friday was different this year. I went to a couple stores. It just seemed like a normal day. There were no rushes. There were no pallets in the middle of the stores. The only thing I did buy, and I'm kind of questioning my purchases. I bought 2 Rokus because they were $15. Now I have one on my TV outside, and it's kind of wonky as of late, so I got one for there. But there just wasn't really anything on sale that was like, I gotta have it this year. No crowds, no madness, no nothing. It's crazy.
I ended up getting Hulu for a year for 99 cents a month.
Saw that deal.
I did that one. So $12 for a year of Hulu.
Did you guys get stars so you could finally watch heels?
No, but they are pushing for it. I'm getting emails all the time. $20 for 6 months.
Come on. It was a great season. Season 2 is on the way.
Is there an app that you can log in?
Amazon Prime, Amazon Video. There's a Stars application
Stars
there.
has their own app too.
Yeah, Stars has their own app too. Okay, so we've talked about stuff we bought, stuff we didn't buy, but let's talk about what we're wearing.
What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing today? What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing today?
The weekly check-in of what 440-year-old men are wearing. It is What Are You Wearing? A pro wrestling podcast with pro wrestling T-shirts are mandatory. I am going to go last because I have the greatest shirt in the history of this great podcast. Prior to recording, I gave the boys a chance to win $100 if they could guess what I'm wearing, and they all fucking lost. Losers. What loser wants to go first?
I'll go first because I'm a winner.
An anniversary winner. Yes.
Woo, woo, woo. This man was
loser.
This man we're going to touch base on in a few minutes. He's had the best, I'd say, promo that I honestly can think of in recent times, sharing it with MJF. He was super in that promo. So I'm wearing the Pro Wrestling Tees own exclusive of Super CM Punk. It's the one that looks like Super Mario jumping off the top rope. It's super soft, super great shirt. Pro Wrestling Tees. Got to give him a shout out for the design. I look forward to talking about that CM Punk MJF in just a few minutes. So let's just skip what you guys are wearing. Let's get at it.
No, loser number 2. Who's up?
Monty
Brian,
Hall.
go ahead, loser.
You know, you're not supposed to wear the shirt of the band that you see in concert, but I don't know if we can make an exception for wearing the shirt of the podcast while you're recording the podcast. I have the official That Wrestling Podcast t-shirt on, available at whatamaneuver.net, supporting them in the t-shirt wars. That's all we have to say about that.
Get the merch.
All right, loser number 3, Joe, go ahead.
I have so many people to thank for being loser number 3. First of all, never mind. I've had this shirt for a while and I can't believe I haven't worn it yet. It's the Andre the Giant cartoon shirt that
okay, Andre, nice.
Not enough love for Andre for everything. And with Undertaker mentioning almost being the next Andre the Giant, I'm like, hey, it's relevant. So busted it open.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Big Show
now
still
Jason with his Strike Force shirt.
So I got a shirt that I wasn't really too big of a fan of this guy until recently. And you know what? I'm not even going to explain it. Danhausen and MJF.
That is a good shirt. That's a good shirt. I saw that picture on social media, some Comic-Con, I think, right?
Danhausen apparently, obviously he's broken his leg.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be good to help a guy. I'm sure he only gets maybe $10 to $12 per t-shirt, but the fact that MJF looks so pissed off in this picture, better than you, and it, Hausen, I believe is what the description was. Pro Wrestling Tees, Danhausen. And Brian, you met Danhausen months ago, man.
I did, yeah. He showed up at the Major Wrestling Figures podcast appearance at a local store, and he did a run-in. It's part of their vlog if you go look and find it. And he's a character. He's local to me here in my part of Parts Unknown, and like you said, Jay, he broke his leg, so he's down and out for a little bit, but he's got a lot of buzz on him. He's been doing stuff in Ring of Honor, so we'll see what happens to him in the future. But I saw that that clip. It's so perfect, right?
Please acknowledge me as the greatest T-shirt in the history of our great sport, because
I'm not ready to go that far. It is very good.
Nothing better than this.
It's very
good. Nothing better than this. I've been watching Danhausen's vlogs as of late. The one he did from the Jericho Cruise was a lot of fun because apparently an owl kept getting on his balcony.
What? I have to look at that.
You know how my issue with the birds?
Yes.
He had an owl on his balcony. It's a whole thing.
How does that happen? That's amazing.
Yeah. So, the greatest shirt in the okay, Brian, what shirt's better than this one?
I like this That Wrestling Podcast shirt because don't we get some dinero from that?
I'll accept it. I'll accept it. So Kevin had mentioned it earlier. The last couple of weeks, we've gotten what we wanted since CM Punk returned to pro wrestling. CM Punk against MJF in the promo battles. We recorded our Black Friday episode the day of the first incident between the two.
Right.
And so this is our first time back since now we've got 2 weeks of TV, Punk versus MJF. And for me, I thought week 1 was amazing because it was just so like, holy shit, we're getting it. But week 2, I just thought was okay. I didn't like the subtlety of the WWE mentions.
Oh, okay.
You can't see me.
All right.
The Triple H mentions the whole Tony Khan is going to have a daughter, blah, blah, blah. I did enjoy saying you're a low rent Miz.
Less famous.
Or less famous Miz, because it's fucking in your face. It's not subtle. It's not someone who's like, oh, it's an inside joke. Fuck that. I'm not excited for the match, but I enjoy the face to face. So Brian, what did you think of the 2 weeks that we've gotten so far of MJF versus CM Punk?
Well, for week one, I thought MJF put on a master class of promo. My goodness. He was saying some of the things that we've said on this podcast about Punk's return, about 7 years, and you've come back and, you know, you're barely beating QT Marshall and like Daniel Garcia. It's like, you're still saying you're the best in the world. Some of the things like that. And also the parts from the very beginning of his return of, I'm happy to be back in insert city. We've all said that, like, whoa, he's got to come out and say, I can't wait to be back here on insert promotion. You know, I was absolutely floored. And usually with AEW, I'm not for the WWE knocks. You know, they've made that part of their existence from day one. And usually I'm like, guys, come on. But for this one, I'm into it. And I think it's just because it's such a part of Punk's backstory. It's what made him who he is, right? So for that reason, I don't know if it's just MJF and just how amazing his delivery is, but I'm feeling it. I love the Miz line. And yeah, everything about it. There was definitely, it came out later, that there were subtleties to the promo that Cena and Punk had back when they were feuding, about how Punk called Cena the New York Yankees. You're a dynasty.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. That's one, you know, I think it's close to 20 minutes in length that I could see myself going back and watching that. Like every 6 months you watch that and just go, God damn. I was very impressed. And Punk even too, because, you know, Jay, I think you sent it to us in our group text with like the meet and greet from back in the day of MJF showing up as a little kid going there. And there's Punk going, you got my poster on my wall. Like that's such a great line. So I think week one is great. I'm with you, Jay. Week two, not as much, but an absolutely classic moment for week one.
Kevin?
I agree with both of you. Week two was a step down, right? But just because week one, I'll even say what MJF mentioned, right? He's like, you could throw pipe bombs. I drop nukes. That week one was a nuke. I think it was clocked in at what, 17 minutes and
18 and a half. Yeah. 18
like
and
just,
a half.
just about, and I watched it at least 5 times, at least. In some of my favorites, and Brian, you touched on it. You're like, you've become what you didn't want to be. You might as well be throwing out the hustle, loyalty, respect.
PG Punk,
that was might have been one of my favorite. Right at the end, he was like, "Oh, the you can't see me man, or the King of Kings." It was good. The Tony Khan daughter, good. Don't get me wrong, but when he like CM Punk started going, and then MJF, I was like, "Ooh, is he gonna falter a little bit?" And then he started coming back, swinging hard, and then Punk, you just see him like chilling in the back, right? Chilling right against the ring, the post, and in his sweatshirt and tights, just waiting. And you don't see much emotion out of Punk whatsoever. And then boom, Punk comes at him. Boom, MJF comes at him. Boom, back and forth. And I'm just like, ooh, when they're going face to face, this is what I wanted, right? Because love Punk. Great on the mic. Best thing he's done in AEW by far in any match. Darby was great. That promo is what I've been wanting from Punk. And anything MJF, you know, guys, I'm a fanboy for MJF. Not going to lie, right? But seeing them both in the ring, I want a like matchup T-shirt, right? Where both of them are just facing each other, kind of like your Bianca Sasha. I need something with both of them.
Maybe when that comes out, you can buy that with the Britt Baker shirt that you still have to buy.
Well, I'm waiting to spend enough so I can get a get a promo code.
According to Punk, she's one of the pillars, not MJF.
She is the pillar.
Yeah, that was a good line.
That was a
really
great
good
line.
Good call.
Yeah,
Well, Joe, before we go to you, something that Kevin said, Punk's just standing there. Do you think this is all off the cuff, or do you think this is maybe not scripted, but
a Schwark?
A Woot. I would go Woot over Schwark.
A Woot?
A little.
Do you think they're not scripting, we know that, but I don't know. I was, as I was watching them both, I've watched the week 1 4 times. And I just wonder how much of it's prepared, how much of it's off the cuff. I mean, going after Punk's UFC career, pretty fucking easy.
That's a great line too.
I bet you, if I had to predict, I bet you MJF, they didn't rehearse it, but he was going to be like, I'm going to come out giving you some softballs. Throw out that, because even Punk said you had all week to think about this, and
low-hanging
fruit, and you get those dingers not swinging for the fence, blah, blah, blah. I think it probably went something like that, but then boom, the rails were off. All
right, Joe.
Boom.
Week 1, definitely what we're hoping to get from CM Punk since he came back to AEW. It's what I wanted. It's what we all wanted, especially you and I, Jason. I mean, Kevin, Brian, you two have just been, mostly Kevin, you've been happy with having CM Punk out every single week.
He's wearing the shirt.
You're wearing the shirt. So I was very happy about that. I think I put in the text message that it reminded me the end of 8 Mile, that like CM Punk was just sitting there like B-Rabbit, like letting Papa Doc, say anything or whatever. But I'm waiting for week 3 to be.
That's Captain America to you, Joe?
Yeah. I'm waiting for week 3 to be them ripping on themselves instead of the other way around, to be self-deprecating. Because
they're in Long Island next week, so it's going to be all MJF.
That's true. That's awesome.
I wonder if the crowd cheer MJF over CM Punk?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they will.
That'll be good to see. That's true.
Wow, that'll be interesting.
He's Piper in Portland. He's Brett in Canada. Why couldn't he say Calgary?
Yeah.
But knowing him, though,
here's the thing
he'll still cut on that audience stuff.
Brian, you mentioned this, and this is the thing that I could not stand in week 1 and week 2. Stop trying to make PG Punk a thing. You can say it 50,000 times. No one's going to chant it. It doesn't matter. I think MJF kept dropping the ball on PG Punk. It didn't work.
Okay.
Well, Joe, it's funny you say that, because online right now, Snoozing Joe is becoming a thing after your nap last week. So,
and guess what? I didn't even try for it. And you know what else is becoming a thing? Brian going, and Seth Rollins was like, where is he? Brian, do you remember that Seth Rollins came out looking for a fan?
Go to YouTube, search That Wrestling Podcast, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and get all the fun that we are talking about.
I hope the match can live up to anything that the promos have, and that's what I'm afraid of. That the match is going to just be 4 out of 10, according to Brett.
When's the next event? February,
March. And it's Revolution.
Or are they going to pull it off at that Winter is Coming event?
Well, Winter is Coming.
That's a big one.
Then the first TNT event. Their Clash of the Champions,
TBS,
Battle of the Belts is in January as well. Be there. So, I don't know.
They got a couple big shows coming.
They've got a few weeks. I would imagine with Christmas and New Year's, they're going to run. They're going to do live, except for Rampage, which we're about to get into. I don't know when the Punk MJF match will happen, but like Joe said, it may be a dud compared to the verbal sparring. So we've all agreed that none of us watch Rampage live. It's not a very good show. Dark and Elevation sometimes are even better than what Rampage has to offer. For me, the selling point on Rampage, it's a 1-hour wrestling show. I love the 1-hour wrestling show. However, AEW knows that a lot of people aren't watching Friday nights at 10 o'clock. So they've got a new strategy to try to get people to watch Rampage. And that strategy is to announce what's coming up on the next episode of Dynamite. Is this a good idea, Brian?
it's a good idea. It's not going to make me watch. Nope.
I think we're all in that mindset, right?
Yeah. I'll find out what's going to happen in the next Dynamite when I watch it on TV.
Exactly.
I will only watch Rampage if it's live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whether that means
it's just a tough time slot, right?
It has to be a West Coast show to be live because it'll be at 7:00 on the West Coast. But if it's not live, I'm not watching. And this strategy, it's not doing it, man. Not doing it. Because if it's a taped show, the results are already out there.
Right.
And we all know Brian loves spoilers. So he already knows. That's why he doesn't watch. I don't follow spoilers, so I just watch it when I can. I'm certainly not watching it live. But what I am curious about with AEW, contracts. It's been announced that the Young Bucks have signed new deals that'll keep them there until 2026. The other two EVPs, Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes, have deals that expire soon, and they have not re-signed. Do we think there is any chance either one of them leave AEW? Joe?
Absolutely not. No way.
Kevin?
There's no way they're leaving.
Cody, 0%. Kenny, I think, will test the waters just to further himself.
Okay.
But I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll test the waters because you know, there's a report out that, you know, right before he signed with AEW, WWE was throwing in some crazy money trying to sign him.
Oh, yeah.
So 3 years later, the interest is there.
They threw crazy money to the Bucks too.
Well, yeah, but the Bucks have a style in the ring. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think it's a WWE style. Can you imagine Seth Rollins versus Kenny?
Yeah, I want to see
that's
it.
what I mean. That's what I mean. Like so many matchups. I think he'll test the waters. I don't think he'll go because his best friends are in AEW, and he's such a. He seems, you know, that's his family, and that you know what I mean. Such a tight knit family. I wouldn't mind it, to be honest, because there's so good guys in AEW, and there's not much, you know, show to go around. There's not that many pay-per-views. I would love to see it. It's not going to happen, but I would love to see it.
Brian announced a few weeks ago that my inside source at WWE was Vince McMahon. So I'm going to give Vince McMahon the $100 that all three of you losers did not win by guessing my shirt to put towards the Kenny Omega contract offer. The only thing realistically I think Kenny Omega is going to do, he's going to negotiate so that he can work New Japan. He has a history in New Japan and, you know, the Forbidden Door and all this other stuff. I don't see either of them leaving. The only person I think that will leave is Joey Janela. He's been pretty public about his contract expiring in May of 22, and he hasn't really been doing anything on AEW. Britt Baker and Scorpio Sky have both signed 5-year deals. Good. Britt Baker is a pillar. You know, I think there's 5 now. I don't think it's just 4. Pillows, as good old JR has said. Now, we all know what JR is going through, but he going through some chemo. Best of luck to JR. And I'm not a dick all the time. I hope he is back on the desk sooner than later of AEW. That's a face turn right
Cheers
there.
to that. Yep.
Not the commentator's desk. You mean the person in the back doing like administrative work, right?
And
said
Kevin
what I
just
said.
turned heel.
He had such a nice
Kevin,
moment.
you're like the nicest guy ever. Your son wants to tie in the
heel.
NFL picks. And you had to
Actually, I just wanted to tie so me and Brian can do the mega flight.
and film it all for YouTube.
Pre-gaming for GCW.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny. That's true.
No, so speaking of GCW, good segue, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
GCW has sold out the Hammerstein Ballroom in one day.
Awesome.
January 23rd, New York City. The show is going to be the largest crowd in Hammerstein Ballroom history, over 2,000 people. And it is the home of some of the original ECW shows. The WWECW One Night Stand shows were both there. And some of the talent that has been announced so far, Eddie Kingston, the Briscoes from Ring of Honor, Alex Zane, Ali Catch, Effie, Jimmy Lloyd, Joey Janela, Laredo Kid, Mark Cardona, Matthew Justice, Ninja Mac, and more. I will buy this on Fight. You are all planning to go to the GCW show. Was it January 14th?
You got it. Yep.
So a week before New York, they're going to be in Detroit. The three of you are planning on going. Will you guys consider buying this on Fight for the sake of the podcast?
Very well, Maybe we'll see how the Harpo's experience goes.
I mean, Kevin, we went to GCW in Vegas. I know I was sick and I wasn't feeling well, but you got a taste of what that promotion is like. I mean, there's a lot of big names. There's a lot of big names that haven't been announced yet. Because remember, 90-day competes, 30-day non-competes are going to expire. And as much as I don't want to give him credit, Mark Cardona has done a goddamn great job in getting GCW in the mainstream.
My goodness, that's a video right there. Wow.
Face turn, motherfucker.
Oh, my God almighty.
He's pretending and playing a heel in the internet. I give him full credit.
I will drink to that. My goodness.
80% credit on GCW doing their thing.
That's amazing. Wow. Great job, Jake.
The summer of Mark.
Thank you. Wow. That's so true. Guys, I think GCW is establishing itself as the third biggest promotion in the US over Impact and TNA they're in a weird spot, I think, right now, Impact, TNA, but GCW, because like you mentioned, like the Briscoes from Ring of Honor coming in and everything with Cardona over the summer and everything. I think they have a lot of buzz, a lot of momentum. Hammerstein, such a legacy venue, Raw used to be there back in the day. ECW, that was a home base. So the fact that they sold it out, I think that everybody took notice and went, they're really getting something going on here. Now, I'm not, going to say if they're going to get a national TV deal or anything, but there's a lot of buzz, and it may end up being, a legitimate third option as far as like what people will actually pay attention to.
It's crazy. I feel like we had an exciting moment right there on the podcast. And the one name we didn't mention, Nick fucking Gage.
Yeah, right.
And the GCW champion, Jon Moxley.
Oh,
we had a fucking moment right there. It didn't even mention the two biggest names. So,
because Mr. GCW, Matt Cardona is the reason why this is one of the
King.
Reasons.
Yep.
He is a Deathmatch King.
I'm surprised none of you have bought the Mark Cardona Deathmatch King shirt yet. But but Brian did buy a couple on Black Friday, so we'll see.
We have the Rosie headbands. That's enough.
And Kevin, I'll be waiting for my t-shirt, my 2X t-shirt of the three of you in the Broski headbands, in the future. You got a note. Okay, awesome. So we've been very all elite heavy so far in this podcast, and it is time to shift to the WWE. Brian, you are a huge fan of Gable Steveson.
Yes.
I will not say what I said in the text, but because of Gable Steveson, the name, image, likeness program that the NCAA has adopted, WWE has now adopted one. Let's get into that.
Yeah. They announced this earlier on Wednesday, and this NIL, there's all this talk about NIL that started this past summer for the NCAA. And kind of the biggest examples of this have been, especially with college football players, things like they can sponsor their local car dealership, right? I can see, Kevin and Joe are MSU guys, like Kenneth Walker for Shaheen Chevrolet, or come on down to Sundance. I'm Kenneth Walker, Sundance. Right. So that's kind of where this is like really gone in that world of like, they can say, I eat at Chick-fil-A, those sort of things. Well, what WWE is doing, and this started with Gable Steveson, and they're looking to grow this, and they've dubbed their NIL program Next in Line. And essentially it's basically a recruiting tool. So they want to get college athletes who may have a future trying in sports entertainment. And so Triple H, great to hear from him. He had a quote in the press release saying that the WWE NIL program has the potential to be transformational to our business by creating partnerships with elite athletes at all levels across a wide variety of college sports. We will dramatically expand our pool of talent and create a system that readies NCAA competitors for WWE once their collegiate careers come to a close. So Stevenson, he's under WWE contract. If you guys remember too, he was like part of the draft. Raw drafted him. But
were those even his real parents?
I can either confirm or deny.
Work parents or shoot parents? Come on.
We'll get to the bottom of that. But yeah, he's still in college. He's still a senior at Minnesota defending his NCAA wrestling title, knowing that once he's done, he's going to go into the WWE system. So that's where this is going. And, you know, ex-football players, especially ex-college football players, have had huge success in WWE. You look at like The Rock, Steve Austin, JBL,
Brock Lesnar.
Well, he wrestler, yeah, collegiate wrestler. But so yeah, that's what they're doing. It's a way that they're going to try to hopefully build their pool. Damn, exactly.
Damn, yeah.
Yep, Florida State. Yeah, so that's what this is. It's putting a whole program behind that. So it's something to watch and see if it comes to be a really successful thing for them, because they certainly have had a lot of success with the previous college athletes in their system, you know, back in the day.
You know, I think this is, you know, obviously for the NCAA, this is a huge deal. And, you know, with WWE, it's awesome. And I mean, how long until AEW incorporates some sort of program?
Yeah.
You know, the Nightmare Factory is essentially AEW's feeding ground. So, I mean, it's only a matter of time. You had mentioned the guy from MSU, University of Pittsburgh quarterback, Kenny Pickett. ESPN did a story about him. He has a deal with a local restaurant in Pittsburgh, and it is so that he can take his offensive line to dinner once a week.
Oh, that's expensive.
Because they protect him, and he's getting them a free, like, and this is like an upscale restaurant. Like, this isn't like Chick-fil-A. I mean, this is like the real deal. Yeah. So, I mean, the NIL, I have been a proponent of this for a long time. I'm not a big college sports fan, but I'm a big believer that people should be paid for the work they put in. So it'll be cool to see what happens, you know, moving forward.
A bit of a side on this, but because you brought up how, like, hey, is AEW going to jump on that? I think because of how AEW has grown so much in popularity
and copied everything WWE does. Oh, wait. Did I say that out loud?
Well, listen.
Did I say that out loud?
That's a whole nother topic for another time. But you know what just triggered in my head? And it's again, it's a bit of apples and oranges, but Jay, you talked about it, or I think we talked about it with the UFC, where in the post-fight interview, Colby Covington, right? He's such a character, right?
Mm-hmm.
In his fights. And they talked about, like, would you get interested? And he was like, well, I'd go WWE. I wouldn't go to that loser AEW with American Top Team, Dan Lambert. So I just, you know, that when you said AEW, like, maybe that is going to be the case, like, where, you know, the next Gable Stevenson, like, oh, could there be a bidding war between companies like that? It's something to keep an eye on for the future, I guess.
Joe, Kevin, does Michigan State have like a big wrestling program or something that could bring the next Gable Stevenson or Brock Lesnar?
So you're a UFC guy. So Gray Maynard went to Michigan State.
Rashad
Evans went to Michigan State. I forget what the guy is. He went pretty far heavyweight last year. Of course, not as good as Gable Stevenson. But yeah, Stevenson. Well, I pronounce it STE.
Brian Danielson.
And then I go to
Brian.
But outside of that, I think those are the two, like, you know, big names. Just in the fact where, you know, I didn't even know Rashad Evans when he was at Michigan State. I just remember him when he was Suga in UFC, and when he said fighting out of East Lansing, and then I realized, okay, he's a Spartan.
All right.
You know?
Okay, well, we'll see what happens in the future. But in the present, WWE this week has drawn the ire of the internet. More specifically,
this week
at
or every week?
WrestleOps, at Chris Kinsada, and at Skip to My J's, when they use the recent firings in storylines.
Yeah.
Liv Morgan made a comment to Becky Lynch that her big contract is the reason her friends aren't here. And Edge referred to John Morrison being fired to The Miz. And people are getting annoyed by WWE and using the firings and storylines. And here are some of the tweets from at WrestleOps. Genuinely surprised y'all tweeted that line out. That's WrestleOps. From Chris and Kinsada, I'm thinking that's like a Canadian salsa, maybe? I don't know. WWE talking about this is kind of gross. And then from at Skip to My J's, this isn't the flex y'all think it is, using somebody else's salary to justify the roster cuts. Personally, when it happened, I was like, wow, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah.
Brian, you looked a little surprised too.
I did too. Yeah. You guys know that I have a little bit of an affinity for, hey, I think Liv Morgan's kind of good. And here she is getting her shot against Becky Lynch, but there isn't a whole lot of sizzle there. I mean, there's the whole like, oh, Liv, you've never done anything, right? And that whole line about, your friends are gone and it's because of you, Becky, with your large salary, that raised an eyebrow. I kind of think it is in poor taste, because if in the back of my head, I always go back to, okay. Hold on. Let me say what I'm going to say. We're losing headphones. Okay. Because I keep going in the back of my head of like WWE had record profits, right? So like I keep going back to that of like we're saying, oh, we had to cut them because of your budget, but I know it, off camera storyline, they made more money than they ever did.
Joe, go ahead.
Joseph, go right ahead, brother.
Everyone who's offended by this, get over it, because this company had Randy Orton come out and say Eddie Guerrero was in hell. Okay? So people who are still walking around and are going to do better out of the WWE, don't be complaining about that. So, sorry. I think it's just a storyline. It's finally giving a little bit of an edge to the product, but
I'm with that.
You're complaining about this from the WWE set the bar so low for how far they will go after Eddie died that you can't be offended by anything they do because of Ruby Riott getting fired or John Morrison getting fired. Morrison was meditating in the back for 3 weeks before he got fired. Keith Lee was a different college mascot every week. Who cares? Get over it.
Yeah.
Now that's a video.
Okay.
That's the video.
Shoot.
Kevin?
You know what? I think.
Wait.
Hold on. No, I'll just say like point to you. I'm not offended by it. I hope it's not a weekly thing. Fine for this week. Good. Now let's just keep the story moving. But point to you, Joe. I'm all right with that.
You mean like AEW saying something WWE related every week?
Exactly.
Every 20 minutes after they drop more profanities.
Exactly. Bingo.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay. So I think they made those references, to kind of counteract MJF and CM Punk, where CM Punk kind of had a little hostility, towards WWE. So I think I'll just say one sentence, and it's a fill in the blank for Jay and Brian. It's 2 words on why WWE did it. What is Peter Rosenberg's podcast called?
Cheap. Go ahead, Jay.
GP.
That's it. Yep. That's all it is. It was a one-timer thing. Edge can't, mention it again. It would be stale. Edge is so good on the mic. He didn't need to do it. Liv Morgan. I think Edge's comment to about Morrison I thought brought home a little bit more because him and Miz are buds, right?
Yeah.
Liv Morgan is dud. I wish Becky would have been like, well, girl, my paycheck's only going to get bigger because you're going to be next. Or, like that.
Wow. You totally have turned heel on this episode, Kevin.
Me and Joe are going to be the heel tag team of 2022. Watch out,
absolutely not. You'll turn on me. No way.
Whoa.
I'm not as dumb as Sting joining the Four Horsemen, Kevin. It's not going to happen.
There's 135% chance that will happen.
Jason,
Steiner math. Nice.
Jason, who's the Marty between Joe and Kevin? Don't answer that. We want to keep the show going.
You know what? No. It's interesting. Joe brought up the Four Horsemen. Another fucking great transition. You guys are on fire tonight, and I don't think any of you are drinking other than me. Ric Flair. A few weeks ago, we talked on the podcast about how none of us wanted to see Ric Flair wrestle again. Well, on his new podcast with Mark Madden, which is a good listen. Definitely give it a shot. He said that a promoter out of Israel offered him a chance to fight Sammy Guevara. Flair's reply was $100,000 and 2 first-class tickets. I'm there. Now, he also tweeted, if I am going to die, it's either going to be next to my hot wife or in the ring next to Sammy G. We were talking about in poor taste. I feel like the tweet about dying next to my wife or Sammy, I think that's a little out of it's in poor taste, regardless if he's talking about himself or someone else. Brian,
I believe
like you have
it.
something to...
No, just I believe it. These guys like Nate, like whoever legend you want to talk about, they know how to work, right? They know how to work, but I believe Ric Flair when he says that sort of thing. I believe that is what he's done for 50 odd years of his life, being in the wrestling business, being known as the man, that he would legitimately be fine with passing away in the ring. And that's it's a sobering thought. You go back to his retirement at the Mania from however long ago now of like, leave the memories alone. And that's all we want. We want to leave the memories alone. We don't need to see the greatest hits of Ric Flair as good as Sammy Guevara is.
It's like I said
not for
a few
me.
weeks ago. Yeah. Jason keeps saying that Matt Cardona is the biggest mark for himself. Yeah. And I always thought it was Bret Hart. But after the Dark Side of the Ring, and Flair's pretty much been canceled, he needs the spotlight. He is the biggest mark there is for himself. And he's just doing this because AEW's not knocking on his door anymore to be Andrade's 18th manager of the week. And he's not welcome back in WWE. He needs the spotlight, and he's going to say whatever he can to get people like us talking about it.
So should we agree to never talk about Ric Flair again on this podcast until he dies? Which
I think until something actually happens. We don't need to hear. Yeah. We don't need to be talking about Ric Flair talk. Does that sound right?
We don't need to be clickbaiting Ric Flair.
I think that's probably the best for everybody.
Kevin, you got anything? Nope. Woo! Okay, so that's a no. That is a no.
No.
Okay, so it's funny how on this podcast recently, every time we record, there's a pay-per-view coming. So we have not done a 5 count in a few weeks. And guess what? We're not doing it again this week either. War Games is this weekend, and we're going to do a little War Games preview. And, this is the second NXT 2.0 event, and I'm very much looking forward to this. Mm-hmm. So I did not watch NXT this week. Now, I know what happened, but I didn't watch. So we're going to start with the NXT Tag Team Champions. Imperium defending against Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner. What do we think is going to happen, Kevin?
I think if Kyle stays with NXT, he will bring home the belt.
Okay.
or
Title.
belts with Wagner.
Title.
Wagner or Wagner? Wagner?
Titles.
Yeah, titles. Yeah, they're not belts. They don't hold up pants. I think Imperium will win though. I do,
Okay.
and I feel like Kyle's out of there. I think it's going to kind of be his bow type of a match. But Imperium, I think he's going to take the titles out of NXT.
You know, there's a lot of talk about Kyle O'Reilly's contract expiring soon. And, you know, I've said on this podcast, and I'll say it again, I am 100% convinced Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner will be the Shawn and Diesel of NXT.
I'm 100% convinced that they are going to lose on Sunday, and Von Wagner is going to beat up Kyle O'Reilly, and we will not see him on NXT ever again, and he'll be in AEW by winter is coming.
And I am 100%.
That sounds like a 6-pack bet to me, Jay.
I am convinced that they are the Animal Heidenreich version of the Road Warriors.
That's a flashback. Oh my god!
I'm not making a 6-pack bet, but
All right.
I am curious to see what happens. The Cruiserweight Championship. Roderick Strong defends against Joe Gacy. I am all in for this one. I love Joe Gacy. I'm not I'm not any of those things that he is, but I love the character, and I don't think the Diamond Mine needs the title. Can you imagine, like, Joe Gacy winning the Cruiserweight Championship is like when Edge had the sex celebration on Raw. That's what I'm looking forward to. The Joe Gacy celebration. Now, of course, he's not going to bend Lita over in the middle of the NXT ring.
Her boob.
Yeah, and her tits pop out. But like that, I think Joe Gacy is going to win. And you know, Joe, what do you think is going to happen?
I gotta agree. I think Joe Gacy's gonna win. He has the momentum going on character-wise. Roderick Strong is just a guy, and pretty much anyone from the Undisputed Era is done. But the thing is, I think he's gonna win, and then the Cruiserweight Championship's gonna go bye-bye because he's never gonna defend it because he's gonna keep it a safe place, a safe.
That's
space,
awesome,
and he won't defend it, so it will go away.
That is awesome. That should happen. Get my inside source, Vince McMahon, on the phone.
Make it happen, pal.
The men's War Games match. Ciampa, Gargano, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight against Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, and Tony D'Angelo. Brian, what do you think is going to happen?
I think I'm going to go with the 2.0 guys, and I think it's Braun Breaker's time. They've been strapping the rocket ship to him, but he did lose to Ciampa, right? So I think he ends up pinning Ciampa in the War Games to essentially, you know, get to the rematch whenever that is down the line, and to say, hey, I did beat you. You know, I'm ready. It's my time now.
Brian, hold on. Joe, say it.
I love
No.
What?
Say it. What match is this?
Oh,
War Games.
Yes, there it is. There it is.
Beautiful.
Go ahead now. Tell us what you think.
Who, me?
No, Joe. You already said what you thought.
Yeah.
What do I think?
Fuck,
I
man.
love the poster that they designed for this match, having Ciampa's team being in the black and yellow, the old NXT background,
cool. Yep.
and Breaker's team being in the in living color background. I don't want it to happen, but I actually think I may actually win that 6-pack bet. Because
I
we were going to
forgot.
mention it. Yeah, Gargano was on the extension.
But you know who else was on that list? Ciampa.
That's the third one, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
if
he loses a championship, and he could be gone too.
Well, he can't lose it in the War Games.
But he can lose it on the NXT 2.0 Tuesday night on the USA Network.
It's the end of the year, right? Was that the bet? End of the year?
No, Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
Okay, well,
starts.
so we got.
So it was Gargano, Ciampa, and who was the third? Was it Cole?
It was Cole.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I hope you like
Look at Kevin.
Nashville
He's like
beer.
so confused. He's like,
No, I'm
could it happen?
you have 2/3 of a chance.
No, okay, Steiner.
You're gonna try Steiner math. Okay, great.
Big bad booty nephew.
Oh, so lame.
Yeah.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier about AEW. The subtle references. Fuck that shit. If you're gonna come out and talk shit, talk shit. Say that he's Steiner's kid, that he's Scott Steiner's like. Fuck that shit. I hate subtle inside joke references.
You know what? If you're mad at Scott Steiner, say he's Rick Steiner's son. That's fine.
He is Rick Steiner's son.
Shh.
Exactly.
Don't
break nothing like him.
The secret.
And then the women's War Games match. Kevin, Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, Cora Jade, and Kaylee Ray against Toxic Attraction and Dakota Kai. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be. I think I get really bored sometimes with the women and on SmackDown and Raw, right? So I
none of them are on Raw or SmackDown.
Huh? Well, no, not them. I mean, just like the matches. I mean, I feel like we're gonna. All 8 of those women just beat the shit out of each other. I think Toxic Attraction is just on the roll with Dakota Kai and on their team too. I think they're going to win, but I just feel like Raquel's going to look insane in that match. I think there's going to be a lot of high spots. I hope Io jumps off. Didn't she jump off with a damn trash
can? With the trash can.
Right. Yep.
I hope just for nostalgia factor, she does it again. I think it's going to be, I think that match is going to be better than the men's, to be honest. I think the women are going to come out. And honestly, Jay, Mandy might look fantastic. She's going to look fantastic, but I feel like she could shine in that match as well.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be a Toxic Attraction Dakota Kai victory. You're not going to have your champions lose, and I am excited to see what happens next. Brian, you.
Womp womp.
Yeah, Brian. Whatever. So here's the thing on this podcast: we have a chat that goes alongside of what we're doing. And we don't talk about what happens in the chat because you, the listener, can't see the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, cannot see the chat.
No.
You know, Kevin and Brian, they're the nice guys. And they're not so fucking nice. They are not so fucking nice.
And I hope, or not. Yeah.
And I hope those fuckers tie the NFL picks to see them drink 12 beers in one sitting. Let's talk about what happened in this week's NFL picks. Brian?
Might not happen, actually.
May not. Yeah, not after this past week. Week 12 was a Harper sweep. My goodness.
Whoa, okay.
She's now up 2. It was they were tied. They were 16, 13, and 1 going into the week. And the matchups, Harper went 3-0. She had the Packers who beat the Rams, the Ravens who beat the stinky brown butts, and the football team over the Seahawks. And Brett had the stinky Browns because you know
that's what he does.
Peanut butter and jelly right there, yeah. And he had the Seahawks as well. That was fun because that was the Monday night game. And Kevin texted me probably like midway in the fourth quarter, like 3 minutes left, like, well, looks like Harper's got the win. And then the Redskins, they Redskins. Wow. Hi, 2019.
2021.
I'm back. Hello. The football team, they couldn't get, like, their kicker was hurt or something. They were like goal to goal and they couldn't kick a field goal. They didn't get in on 4th down. And the Seahawks went all the way, scored a touchdown, 2-point conversion to tie. They didn't get it. And they kicked the onside kick and they got it. I'm like, holy shit, they may actually win. But somebody was offside.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man. So it came down to the wire, but it certainly didn't look like it would. So Harper, yeah, she has a decent little lead now. And her record, we kind of joked about this probably around like week 7 or 8, like, don't really listen to the kids, guys. But now her record, 19, 13, and 1. Not too shabby. And Brett is 2 games behind at 17, 15, and 1. So still anybody's game, but the time's getting closer and closer. Here we are, December, a couple weeks left.
So I have to ask you guys, Joe and I do not have kids, so we're not in this fight, but Kevin and Brian, like on Tuesday mornings, like if your kid does really well, do you like take them for like the Egg McMuffin breakfast? Or is it like, I'm just gonna make some eggs, kid, like at home. Like, how's that work? 'Cause I'm curious. You know,
And
this
if
is
they
a big
go
deal.
0-3, do
Go
you
ahead,
give
Kev.
them oatmeal?
I'll say this: if Brett wins the weekend, I'll tell him, and he'll be like, he'll put his hand up and be like, yes, and then he goes back and watches Netflix in the morning.
Nice.
If he loses against Harper in the week, he does the
Yeah.
It's like, fuck off, Dad. You're
he just
stupid.
he
Your
loves,
stupid friends doing stupid things.
he doesn't care if he wins or loses. He won last year. You know what he did? He didn't care because he likes watching the videos and laughing at Harper.
It's probably just
In the
Dad
videos,
spraying champagne
that's all that
over
he.
himself.
That's all he cares about. That's it.
But Brian, do you do anything special on Tuesday mornings if she has a big week?
I don't. I need to. I probably need to.
And
but
you
no,
need to film it now.
She like it's fun because now she has like the recognition. Like we were watching Rams and Packers on Sunday, and she's like, you know, she's pointing out the numbers on the screen. The Packers have 21 and the Rams have 10. So the Packers are winning. And like the light bulb go off, like we want the Packers to win. So that's fun. But yeah, we haven't had any big powwows after where I'm like, all right, you went 2-1 this week, and Brett went 3-0. So here's what we haven't. It's been very business-like. We just kind of roll, and you know, she just loves the videos. Oh, special shout out to Brett for his Saturday Night Fever dancing this past week. Harper just loves watching Brett and his shenanigans. So Brett wins the MVP as far as the creativity and with the Santa. The last one, he like. You know, the video cut off, right? He was like knocking over the Santa, the inflatable.
I wish I didn't stop the video because he actually fell into
Never hit end until someone hits the ground.
Yeah.
Not total spoiler,
Just
but
led by.
Brett does sit on top of a cat tower this week, everybody.
So
Stay tuned for that.
if you are new here, we have the NFL picks. They go up on our social media and our YouTube channel at thatwrestlepod. Every Brian, you do what every Saturday morning, late
Saturday
Friday
mornings pretty regularly. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So and follow us on social media too at thatwrestlepod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're slowly getting to our subscriber goal. Like and share our videos and subscribe to the channel and stuff like that. Of course, you can pick up That Wrestling Podcast merchandise at whatamaneuver.net. Just search That WrestlePod. And I'm going to say it. This has been our best podcast from start to finish since we've been doing this.
Oh, my. The bar has been raised.
Thank you. And we'll talk to you next week.
On that one.
Yes. Because Joe stayed awake.
Thanks for listening. Follow That WrestlePod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
1, 2, 3. That's it.